Yeah, so turning it over, we have the NFC now. We have my Green Bay Packers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it's a shame what happened. I will say that it was a tough game. The
Mhm.
Packers yet again shot themselves in the foot. Turnovers, especially on the first play. Keyshawn Nixon on the punt return fumbled. Uh, there was controversial takes on that, but apparently he didn't maintain possession. The ball was still moving, apparently. So, whatever. The Packers turned over the ball, though, including Jordan Love's three interceptions. Was not a pretty game for Jordan Love. The Packers offense alone getting banged up, a lot of injuries. The Eagles were a tough team. And I'll keep saying this. The Green Bay Packers will be back next year. And I mean, yeah, they'll be back next year. And they're in a good spot for being the second youngest team in the league right now.
Yeah, so my takeaways are you have Philadelphia who has the number 1 defense in the league going up against a banged up Packers team. Obviously, you lose Jaden Reed, you lose Dobbs, and Jordan Love came into this game with an elbow injury, I believe. And you really had to rely on Josh Jacobs, but I feel like they relied too much on Josh Jacobs like they've done all year, where it started becoming predictable once Jordan Love had those 3 interceptions. They just started relying on the run. I remember watching the game and the Packers needed a score. They were down by 10. And I was like, why are you running the ball on 3rd and 8? Like, why are you doing that? But to kind of key off on that, I have a little surprise for you, Mike.
That is funny. Oh my gosh. Okay, you know what? As a Lions fan, I can respect that. That is comedy. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I've seen it and gotten messages. So it's nothing new to me as a Packers fan. For those
Yeah.
listening, it's a Green Bay sucks sweatshirt. So friendly banter there from Nick, which means I'll have to get something like that for Detroit.
Yeah, and that was the thing I was waiting on for the podcast. Yeah, I think Green Bay is in a spot where they most likely will be back in the playoffs next year. We've seen this over and over again with the Packers where they just make the playoffs. Now, what is happening is what they do in the playoffs, like I stated with the Steelers, right? I'm not saying Matt LaFleur is on the hot seat because by no means is he on the hot seat. He's a great coach. The play calling is what needs to be updated because a lot of times you're just running, 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 running. And we've been saying this all year. It's game predictable. And the Eagles were able to predict that. They loaded the box. And Jordan Love, I have a question about this. We know about Jordan Love's contract extension that happened that made him the highest paid quarterback in the league. Do you think that the Packers overpaid him?
Yeah, I think that Jordan Love had a really bad game, just off the mark, missing receivers, even easy throws. The first throw of the game, he almost threw a pick because he sailed it over Dontavian Wicks's hands, which is so uncommon and unlike Jordan Love when we've seen him at the top of his game. Jordan Love, we've seen the highest of the highs. He can be a slinger. He can get it in those tight windows. He can make that big time throw when the Packers need it. I think that there was something else going on, whether it was the scheme, as you said. Matt LaFleur didn't have the best coaching play. He didn't have the best coaching in that game in terms of creativity. There was lack of creativity, which, as you said, made it predictable for what the Packers were going to do. The Packers did try and switch off, making some creative runs, but at the end of the day, it's still a run play. Eagles sniffed it out, didn't get us much. So, to answer your question, though, with Jordan Love, I don't think the Packers overpaid. I do think that Jordan Love is talented and he's still young in his second year. He will learn from this. He will learn from these growing pains, these disappointing moments, games. And these guys, like I said, are still young. So there's a lot left in the tank for them. I think they'll take these losses and really hold their heads high because now they have guys like Xavier McKinney in the locker room, Josh Jacobs, which are big time needs for the Packers in terms of locker room leadership. So I don't think the Packers overpaid because, you could look at guys like Trevor Lawrence, but Jordan Love does still need some repetition. He still needs some work to do, but he does have like those off games, like they said in like his last 3 games, he was throwing like a 70 QB rating or 80 QB rating
I think it was
compared to like the
75.
yeah, compared to like the middle of the season where he was at like a one over 100, I think it was. So where he didn't turn the ball over too. So Jordan Love, he still has a lot of work to do, but no, I don't think the Packers overpaid for him.
I'll disagree with you. I think the Packers did overpay just because they re-signed him this offseason, right? After realistically his first season playing. Really, he didn't prove much last year. He proved, yeah, he can be a good quarterback, but he's very inconsistent. And I think that comes with age, that comes with repetition. But I think you don't pay a quarterback that type of money that has only played one season in the league. And for that reason, I think they overpaid him. I think he has to get more consistency in his throws instead of just airmailing it, underthrowing it. When he's on, he's on. Yes, I'll give him credit for that. But I do think that he is very inconsistent. And like you mentioned, it's his second year playing, and he sat 2 years behind Aaron Rodgers. So it's going to come eventually, but I don't think that they should have paid him that amount of money after just playing one season.